Hey guys, it's Ducon Red 1 and welcome to episode 16 of Let's Build a Fortified Manor. We are going to be working on the interior to the feast hall today of Chateau de Lumière. And yes, I know some of you think that I may be pronouncing that name wrong, Lumiere and etc. But I believe it's an artistic prerogative to pronounce things how you would want them pronounced for a build. And I feel like that how I pronounce it is okay, it sounds good, so that's that. But moving on from that, I think that the interior turned out quite well. I was worried when I first started. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I felt like there was a lot of open space and a lot of room to improve. But after many hours of improvising and continuing to build and add, we finally came up with something that I am reasonably happy with, and I hope that you guys are happy with too. So one way or another, guys, I hope that you will enjoy this episode and that you will learn something from it, possibly something that will help you in your building endeavors. And yeah, without anything else to say, we're gonna get right into this, and hope you enjoy. So unlike the other episode, we actually have replays for this one. I am so happy that they actually work. I was really worried that there would be some more issues with it, but we were able to bypass the issues and figure it out. So starting now, we're going to be working on the main interior, the main hall of the feast hall, and we start working on the roof trusses, the beams that hold up the roof, the ceiling, etc. Also, you see that I start moving back the walls, and I'm working on a fireplace, etc. Really trying to get the feel for the room, getting the main things done first before we start adding the detail. What you really want to do when you're building, you want to really try to get the main things out first and then start doing the detail. And some people build in sort of sections and everything, but I try to do things in spurts and get it all done in certain stages. So as you can see, we got most of the walls and interiors done. So now we're going to be working on details, and some main details is lighting, of course, getting in those chandeliers and things to really try to get some light and spark up the area. As you can see, we put in some candles there along the pillars that are leading up on the walls. And you'll see we have a raised dais, a raised high table where the lord and the lady and the princess would sit. Down here we have the seating areas, the arrangements for all the other people, etc. down here. And this is pretty much the finished version of the feast hall. The window shutters I thought was a good addition, and also the curtains, etc., and the flags going across, because right now during this time, this current period of Lumiere's construction is during festivities, a marriage celebration, so we wanted to make it feel really bright and cheery and like there's a lot going on. One thing that this place was really missing was a lavatory or a bathroom, a garderobe, a place for people to go pooty. And I really wanted to add something like that on the side. I didn't really know where. There was really no place to add it. So eventually I decided it was optimal to go ahead and add a garderobe tower there on the side. So I think that worked out, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So coming around the side here, you're getting a pretty good view of Lumiere and what we have done so far. As you can see, the Great Hall is really turning out. But now we're going to be working on the kitchens. It's kind of awkward the way to get to the kitchens. As you can see, it comes in from underneath the Wizard's Tower here. But we're going to be working on different ways to work around that and get into here. But this is a main hallway that leads from the the second courtyard down to the kitchens. And I really wanted a very bright and exotic type of cellars to Lumiere, and also kitchen using the brick and the white, the travertine, etc. I really wanted to make this seem just really regal looking. I wanted to continue that regal look, and I think that we achieved that goal by using the brick and using the white clay and the travertine, etc. throughout this this construction. I feel like it really works out. People during the stream were really upset. They were like, no, Ducon, don't do that. No, that's terrible. And then eventually, after a little bit of working on it, eventually people started to come around. But this is the pantry area, the preparation room, etc., where food would be prepared. A couple baker's ovens there on the side, and then we have the arrow loops. So it's basically for two purposes, these windows: one to let in light during peace times, and two for archers to shoot out during wartime. Next, we're going to be working down in the cellars underneath the feast hall. I wanted to do this in sections. I really wanted to just continue the cellars and just, really do them all, just do all the cellars. But I was like, no, I really should partition this into episodes. It just makes it more logical and etc. So it's a little kind of crowded in here with my player just going all over the place and everything. But I hope you guys are able to look past that and just see the building that's going on. But as you can see, this is the buttery. This is where the wine and the barrels of mead and beer would be placed all around through here. And the idea is that this is in the ruins of an old elven crypt, and it's been desecrated by the conquerors, the humans, and they made it into their buttery where all their beer and everything is. This is actually a main thing right here. This looks really like crypts right here, elven crypts, but the idea is that the elves were the original owners of this plot of land, but many hundreds of years ago, humans came and they conquered the land. And in my storyline, all the elves and everything have been pushed across the sea to another continent called Arnon. But here in Abathon, most of these creatures, elves and orcs and etc., have been pushed out. And so the elven ruins, I think, just makes sense to have as sort of like a little underground thing. So as you can see, we've finished a lot. We've worked on the entrance coming down. We've done a lot of different things to sort of spruce up the atmosphere down here in the crypts. I think I still will come back through later on and add a little bit more and work a little bit more on making this look a little bit better. But overall, this is not too bad. Now we're making a junction. To the right, we're going to go down to the cold room. This is going to be where all the ice is kept and cold items. I thought it would be a pretty good idea to add something like this in Lumiere. Really wanted to, and I think it works out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. We use the ice blocks. Also, a big thing that you want to keep in mind is don't put the ice on the ground. It would melt on the ground, believe it or not. Ice needs to be raised up on wooden tables or some kind of pedestal to keep it away from the ground, because the ground emits warmth and moisture seeps into it. So you want to try to raise that up. So put it on tables, things like that, and it'll work out. Now we're going to be working on the pantry. I want to try to add more things like this throughout, but anyways, that's pretty much all that we've built throughout this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and now we're going to do a walkthrough and showcase everything first person. We have finally finished the interior of the Great Hall for Chateau de Lumière. Now, I am fairly impressed with the turnout. I'm really happy with how this turned out to be so royal looking in here. As you can see, we have the colors, the red, we have this lattice sort of pillars, we have the white, the floor pattern. The floor pattern's pretty nice. It's not bad. It could look better though. I think if we added some white in there, maybe have like white and black, the typical sort of white and black style of flooring. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I think that it does work. And I do like the fireplace. This was a design that we were, during the stream that we were building it, I was trying to come up with a design, and I was trying to follow a picture. And it somewhat turned out like what I wanted it to turn out like, but for the most part, I think it looks nice here. It's a very nice backdrop for the Great Hall. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say that the fireplace should be behind where the king sits or the lord sits, and I do agree with that. It's just I'm not changing it. We're just going to switch things up for this Great Hall. So as you can see up here in the rafters, we use a lot of these beams all over the place to sort of just make this really interlaced sort of rafters going on up here, where the roof trusses go between each of the sides and everything. I just wanted to make it really intricate and really interesting from the bottom. I kind of wanted to have some sort of like mural up there at one point, but I just felt like it wasn't really worth it because there really wouldn't be that much light up there anyways. I mean, yes, we do have these dormers that would allow in quite a bit of light, but at the same time, it's not really important. It's not really like people look up all that often. I mean, the main area that you're going to be looking is straight ahead at your guests, or the guests would be looking up towards the king, or not the king, the lord of Lumiere and everything. So we got a few little stools here against the side for minstrels, for people with, like, you know, guitars or sitars, whatever exotic instruments that they would be using to serenade the dinner crowd. So when the dinner crowd eats, they of course have to let out the what do you call it? The waste. And so the waste would go back here. This is a garderobe that we built back in the back of the castle, sort of like just like a little extra addition to the dining hall. As you can see, there's a little hole here, and they just kind of sit there and do their thing. And then the tower goes up, and there's a bell. But we're gonna go ahead and go outside eventually, and I'll show you where the garderobe lets out at the bottom. As you can see, we surround these tables in white curtains to sort of you know, represent a tablecloth. Technically, there should be a tablecloth on top of these tables as well, but unfortunately, I'm not quite sure how to represent that. I guess I could use the covered table, but I don't think that that's gonna really match the white curtains. Yeah, it's a little bit too much. Yeah, a little bit too much, but at the same time, I think that works out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. And then, of course, we got the throne seat up here. I know it looks really, like, weird and you know, something that you wouldn't really see typically, but this, in fact, is actually something that you would typically see in a medieval French setting. They were this is how they were. They're very regal, very weird, and so I kind of wanted to represent that, and here it is, a throne with two canopies. Cool. So if we go left, this is going to be the access way to get out of the dining hall for the lord and the lady. They would walk out through here, and then they'd be able to access either the chapel or their living residence, which is going to be here. That's how they're going to get around. Now, the other way, this leads down to the kitchens down below. Also, if you go up, it'll lead to the fortifications along the side of the Great Hall, so soldiers would be using this in times of war. This will also access the top of the chapel. Again, the chapel will have fortifications up here. I'm looking forward to doing that. And then over here, you got the front balcony where it overlooks all the gardens down below, and pretty much just a nice little walking area. And then you have a little dinner bell tower right here. And like I said, I was going to show you where the garderobe lets out. It lets out right here. A little pile of poo in there. All that good stuff. So you can just kind of imagine that's where, you know, be pretty stinky. Just like this down here. This is the garderobe for the guards tower right there. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on because there is a lot more to see. Now, if you go down that same stairwell that's over here to the right, or I guess facing out the left of the I forget what this is called, the place where the lord and the lady and like the princess, prince, whatever sits. If you go down, there is another garderobe here. This is more for servants. And then if you keep going down, 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 it leads you to the kitchens down below. Now, this was actually a really interesting palette that we were able to devise here. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to go for at the start. I was kind of like messing around with certain ideas and such, but I saw an idea it was actually, I think, Tiger Bread sent me a picture of a brick with white stone picture, like of a kitchen with brick and white stone. And I really liked that idea. I thought that it would really fit for under here in Lumiere. And I would have to say the finished result is actually pretty impressive. I do like the palette. The palette really works. In here is the main cooking area. This is where like main meats and stews and other things that are the main courses and meals would be cooked. You got some kind of oven over here. Not quite sure what they put in there. Maybe like trays of meat, trays of like, whatever they would need to be put in there. That's what they would cook. All kinds of different resources and shelving, all kinds of stuff where they can put stuff. You got all these little inlets. These are little places where during peace times, they're just nice little windows to look out. Also, it lets in light. Natural light is a big thing, and it makes it so that you don't have to waste candles. But of course, this wouldn't have like, a lot of light in the medieval times, well, they would try to be very tactful with it. That's supposed to be a block back there. Oops, give me a second. There we go. All right, I saw an empty slot, it had to be filled. But yeah, this would allow in quite a bit of light, but not enough to fully light up the area. But as you can see, we are able to have less candles because of the natural light. Now over here is the baker's ovens. So this is where stuff like cakes and breads and things of that sort. This is where they would be cooked. I'd still need to make the fireplace for that one over there, but this goes into the main fireplace for Lumiere. As you can see, a little mural up there, just a little something I wanted to add in. Thought it would be a nice idea. We got some storage and pantries and stuff of that nature all along the side wall here. And in the middle, we have a little island where all of the preparation would be done. The servants would be sitting around here preparing food and just getting things ready for the dinner that would be going on up above. So we got cabbages, herbs, tobacco, maybe they smoke up there, garlic, meats, and carrots, whatever else. This is a wash basin. This is where they would wash their hands because it'd probably be, pretty greasy when you're handling food. And so that's where they would wash their hands and such and do their thing. Little towel racks to dry their hands and such. Now, I am planning on having a place to wash dishes and wash clothes. That's going to be down here underneath the Lord's residence once we finally get to it. So just hold your horses for that. I know there's going to be a lot of people like, well, but Dukan, what about washing your hands and such? There's going to be a lot more things like, just you guys can comment down below and give me ideas of what else we can add in. But we're going to be definitely adding a lot more. So, until Lumiere is finished, you're not really going to see what everything is. So, with that said, we're going down into the cellars now. So the cellars is where you're going to see things like the pantry, the buttery, the cold room. That's what we currently have. But you make your way down here and you'll notice that we have sort of like an elven ruins kind of deal. And that's what I wanted to go for because at the beginning of the series, I sort of talked about that I wanted Lumiere to be built over in elven ruins. Just to sort of get across the idea that this, once many years ago, however long ago, was once an elven, maybe a castle, elven palace, I don't know, something elven, and the humans came and conquered it. Because in my storyline, the land of Abathon, which is held by the Empire now, Lumiere is part of the Empire. And they are sort of xenophobic, so they sort of push out any of the creatures and such that used to live in this land. So now they're all over in Arnon, and the same thing is happening over there, where the Empire is sending over their massive armies to overtake and destroy. But anyways, that's a story from another time. In here used to be elven crypts, but they are now reused as place to age wine. These are amphoras, and amphoras are typically used to age wine. There's something specific about amphoras. I think it's just about the shape and also the clay. Something about amphoras that makes them suitable for wine aging. So. But as you can see, we got lots of barrels of mead and things of that sort down here. Lots of drink to satiate the taste buds of the occupants of Lumiere when they are needed. So, and here you can see we have a bunch of sort of like a pantry kind of deal. We also have a stool with a writing utensil and thing. This is sort of to represent a place where the butler maybe would be down here to take inventory, or his servants would be down here to take inventory. Just make sure that everything is here, and just you know, to have a list of everything that is stored down here, so that whenever the Lord wants something, he can just say, I want this, and then the butler can say, yeah, okay, we got that. This actually looks up into the dungeon up there. As you can see, there's like a little hole that comes all the way down. This is like sort of like a little no, it's some kind of maybe a place where the water seep through, and like maybe the water seeps through here or something. I don't know, but yeah, this is where it's going to transition from sort of elven looking architecture into more human looking architecture, because this is right underneath the Lord's residence right here. So what we're going to do is make it so everything under the Lord's residence is going to be more human looking cellars. And then in here is the pantry. This is where all the vegetables and fruit and other things would be kept. Just a place to keep a bunch of food down here. And so when the kitchen staff are in need of something specific, some kind of specific food, they can just come down here and grab a carrot and go back up, cut it up, and make it into some kind of dish, or add it into a dish. Some kind of altar here. I don't know what for, but it's like on a junction between 3 paths. So you can either go that way, or up towards the kitchen. If you go down, this leads down to the cold room, or the ice room. As you can see, we just got a bunch of like food packed, into chests and crates here in the corner, and then you have blocks of ice. Now, I kind of imagined, I'm not quite sure how ice was stored back in the day, but my sort of imagining of how this was done is you would take ice from maybe during the winter, like take the river ice and cut it into blocks, and you bring it into here, and then from winter you would always keep a certain amount of ice in here to keep the room cold. And then you would bring in buckets of water, and then it should be like 30 degrees or less in here, below Fahrenheit, below freezing. It should be below freezing. And then like when you bring in new batches of water and such, like buckets of water, it should freeze over, and then they could use the recycled ice and etc. So that's kind of how I imagined a cold room would work. I'll have to do some research on how that works. I know that it's more common of an idea that they would go to the top of a mountain, chip ice away, and come back down really quick. But there has to be a way to get ice otherwise in a more efficient manner. So I think that might be it. It makes sense. But one way or another, even if it's not realistic, it's how my cold room works, because I'm Dukan, and Dukan can do what he wants, right? Right. Okay. So that's about it for the updates for this episode here. We went ahead and finished the feast hall. As you can see, it is looking fabuloso. I'm really looking forward to moving on to the following buildings, like the Great Hall, or not the Great Hall, the Lord's Residence and the chapel over here. I think it's going to look fabulous once those are done. But for the next episode, we are going to be working on more surroundings. I think I might actually focus on the town area. So by the next episode, I think we just may find this area finished by the next episode. So we will see. You guys will find out, and maybe we'll do something different. Who knows? But one way or another, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Chateau de Lumière. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't, but maybe you enjoyed it nonetheless. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, come back for more, because there's a lot more coming. And hopefully one of these days we'll be able to finish this build and move on to something else. That's always good. Variety is great. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Have a great night. And I'll see you on the next one. Till then, bye-bye.